Welcome to another Spotlight with Pat and Jodi Harris from Sight and Sound Events. And today we're going to help you plan that smaller event that absolutely rocks. Because let's face it, right now, folks, with all the virus stuff going around, plans have gotten mixed up, turned around, flipped upside down.
They sure have.
And there's going to be a lot of events that maybe you planned initially to be 100 people, 200 people, 300 people that now really have to be downsized.
Or, being that Las Vegas, Sight and Sound Events has been in Las Vegas for 25 years. And a lot of our clients come to us from all over the world and they have to fly in, Pat. So many of them, maybe they might have some guests that are a little apprehensive about flying to Vegas.
Sure.
So we should talk about that, about that in regards to like the small wedding.
Well, I think about Las Vegas is that we're kind of uniquely qualified because people only think of Las Vegas as these big giant events. Yeah, we have CES with 180,000 attendees. We have all of these crazy large, big events. But the reality is most of our weddings and social stuff are actually much smaller because everybody's traveling here. So we've had to figure out ways to make smaller events work. So that's what we're going to talk about today, helping you make that small event feel even bigger than the big event and be more fun.
So let me ask you a question, Pat. Smallest event that we've ever done. Can you think of off the top of your head what the smallest? I know I got a number in my head because I know, but the smallest event number we've ever
for a full reception.
For a full reception, DJ, video, photography, lighting, uplighting.
It's got to be about 20 people.
I say
maybe less.
It's less. It was at Maggiano's.
Yeah.
The couple was from the UK.
Yeah.
And Chuck was their DJ.
Oh, that's right.
And the bride had a beautiful, matter of fact, there is a YouTube video of that wedding. So if you'd like to see the photos that our photographer got, you could see that. But
Absolutely.
That wedding had the full package. And, there was like 10 people there and it rocked. It really did rock.
And really, I think people think you can't have all the fun stuff and not have a giant group of people, but it's actually, that's not correct. And one of the things I'll tell you, and this is because people go, no, there's no way. Here's the thing about smaller events that really make them great and why it's not as tough as you think. For one, if you have a smaller event, generally every single person there means something to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a critical point. Whereas if you do parties with 200, 300 people, we've had times where the bride and groom knew 20 people at their 200-person wedding. That's it. Everybody else was friends of their parents or somebody else. They hardly knew anybody, and they really only hung out with the same group of people every day, the whole night. So the thing here is you can actually focus in on, and we'll talk about that first, is how do you figure out who to invite to these? If you can only do a smaller one for whatever reason, how do you figure out what your invitation list is going to look like?
Absolutely. And I think one of the first things, with any event, now I can tell you growing up in New York with my family, I never went to a wedding until I was, I think, 21 years old.
That's
my
true.
Parents never took us to weddings, and we always got upset with them. We always asked them, why? Even as teenagers, why can't we go to cousin Brenda's wedding? And the answer was that a wedding is no place for kids. So there you go. There's your first way of cutting, unless the kids are in the bridal party, or they're your own children. But even then,
well, the
in
reality
Vegas,
is
you can get a babysitter. Seriously, you can get a babysitter if you're having it in a hotel. You could get a babysitter. You can have a room next door. You can have sleeping bags. You can have like all kinds of kids stuff, and the kids could be in the room right next door if you really, really, truly have to have children at the wedding.
Yeah, and because I think a lot of people really want to have kids at their wedding. I will tell you this. Weddings are not events that kids like, plain and simple. There's nothing for kids to do at a wedding other than run across the dance floor. And it's nice, it's cute to have them for the grand entry and maybe feed them. But by the time the activities start, that's probably a good point to put them to bed. Because at that point, then who's watching them? So that can be problematic.
Then the adults want to have fun.
Another thing with the coronavirus going around, sometimes you may not be able to invite the elderly guests, your maybe parents, grandparents that are in that high-risk category. So that, but there are, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we still let them become part of that experience as well. So we have to look at, closest friends, people who mean something to you. And that's why I started with that. Only invite the people that mean something to you. And there was an expression that you used. What is it? Roof or ring?
Yeah, it was a ring or roof.
Ring
So
or roof?
ring or roof means if they are engaged to be married or they're a couple, then you would invite them to the wedding. And roof is if a couple is living under the same roof. So let's say
they're serious.
Yeah, they're serious. So that's what ring or roof means. So if you're thinking about inviting a friend, that's ring or roof.
So, I know a lot of this sounds crude. People will be like, "Oh my goodness, I couldn't possibly."
No, but you gotta be.
I have to invite. You don't have to invite all of your work friends. You don't have to invite the guy that you've only known casually for the last couple of years. The reality is, most people now are going to understand that weddings maybe are going to be there. People are going to be a little bit more particular about who they can bring to the wedding, and it's a financial thing because a lot of people aren't going to have the budgets that they used to have, at least not for a while. To put on their events. And if you do, great, then this is all irrelevant.
Well,
but if not, if you're like a lot of people who are out there, maybe you have to start looking at trimming down the list. And you can do, and we're telling you can do a great event with 20, 30, 40 people.
Oh, absolutely.
And do all the same cool things you do at a big wedding.
Yeah, one of the things they also talk about is to stick to the present. So if you haven't seen, I'm sorry, there's a fly in the studio. It's what we do as DJs, right? But if you haven't seen somebody in 2 years, then they shouldn't be
as a friend.
Yeah, as a friend or even a relative that you haven't seen in over 2 years. Somebody you don't keep in contact with. You can cut right from there. So the main thing is with any wedding, I think, cutting down your guest list and work people. Like, when everybody says, "Oh, I got to invite all these people from work." Well, would you actually go out to dinner with some of these people from work? And if you did go out to dinner with some of these colleagues that you work with, would they be the ones paying the bill?
Do you go on vacation with them? Do they come over to your house for dinner? So really the thing is they have to be close friends. And again, the whole idea here is to be able to cut down the list to make it more manageable when the numbers need to be smaller. So if that's not the case, then you don't have to worry about this. But there are ways, and please believe me, people understand that they aren't going to be invited or that they may not be invited to somebody's wedding in this day and age.
Yes. One of the things, though, that's really funny is that, when you think about your guest list, who would be the most fun at your wedding?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like you want to invite the person to your wedding, and even if it is a work like one work colleague, who would make your wedding the most fun? Because nobody wants to be around stick in the muds either.
Sure.
So who's that one friend that you have, that one crazy friend or relative or somebody you definitely want to invite them at the wedding because you know that they're going to take the energy level like up here.
Yeah, and and another thing that you may want to look at is planning events or working with a company that knows how to plan events during the event that engages your audience and gets people involved. Because the whole thing here is this is a tight-knit group now. This is now your closest friends and family members. So now you can do more with them that you couldn't do with a big group. So get them involved, get them engaged, find ways to make it memorable, because I can tell you that some of the smaller events that we've done, we've had parties with 30 people go 6 hours.
Yeah.
And nobody but maybe 2 people left.
And no alcohol.
Yeah, and no alcohol.
No alcohol. So you better be good.
Shocked us too.
Yeah,
so,
you better be good if you're having
you better have a good DJ.
You better have a great MC and a high energy DJ.
And the reality is, if you have a smaller event, you could still have all the cool stuff. You could still do a photo booth, which is always fun with a small group. And now you get more photos with your friends. You could still have your photographer and videographer and all the other stuff there and do a nice job with the decor. And it's still going to cost a lot less money. Okay, so everything is going to be much more intimate at this point. Now, I know people are going to say, yeah, but I really need my parents or my grandparents. I really love to be there, have them be there, but they can't travel now. So there are a lot of options technology-wise now to keep people close. One, it's probably, we've talked about this before, it's probably more important now than ever to videotape your wedding. Because now you have something to show your family members that couldn't make it, to make them part of your special day. And not only that, you could show people, the family members that you don't even have yet.
And when I say videotape, I'm not talking about taking out your cell phones, everybody,
No.
because everybody has one. No, I'm talking about hiring a dedicated videographer who can just do the basics.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's just the basic, you don't have to have, if you have the money, that's great, but you don't have to have a drone flying over you. It's nice. I mean, I'm not going to, but
and a
it could be
cinematic
simple.
editing and $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 editing package. You can do the most simple packages and just make sure that it's captured by somebody who knows how to tell your story.
Exactly.
Keep it simple, but make sure you do it. There's also the option of doing live streaming at your event. Now, there's lots of platforms that you could do it on. Some you can, some you can't. Like Facebook, you can't because there's music involved and they'll kick you off. But there's lots of platforms that you can have videographers set up cameras to do live streams and really bring in your family members who can't be there and make them a part of your special day.
The chapels have been doing it for years.
For years. They're built in and they've been doing it for some of them close to 20 years now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Back in the early days of Sight and Sound, I could tell you that when we would come back from an event, maybe I shouldn't be sharing this story, but you know, we're fun. We're human, right?
Yeah.
But when we would come back from an event, we'd like put the gear away and we're like, what's going on at the chapel of blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say their name, but what's going on? Let's go see the webcam. And we would like log in. Now you have to have a password. But back then you didn't have a password. And we would actually see weddings at like 11:30 at night, midnight, people getting married in wedding chapels in Vegas. It was the coolest thing. So the wedding chapels have had the technology to stream your wedding live, ceremony live to people who can't be there. But to have a video, to have a keepsake, something that you're going to have 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, when your kids, you know, understand what a wedding is, well, for them to see that, there's no better feeling in the world. And I know this because we get letters and emails from clients whose weddings we did 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, who tell us, oh my God, our kids are seeing our wedding video for the first time.
Well, whose film, not even video, did we find
for a 50?
Probably 20 some odd years ago.
Yeah, 20 something years ago. My parents, we found my parents'
Super 8
wedding film with no audio.
They forgot they had it.
No audio.
We found it, we stole it, we had it transferred, and I transferred it over. And we gave it to them as an anniversary gift, and they just lost it. They were just in absolute tears. So these are keepsakes. So being able to bring your family in when they can't be there, that is an option now. That's something that you can do. And people are doing it just like we're doing right now. We're doing this live, but this will be archived for however long we want to leave it up there.
Right.
So people can become engaged and get involved, and they can say, oh, you look beautiful, and that's so fantastic. Oh, look at Uncle Frank. He's having a great time. Whatever. You can be involved in it and engage with it. So those options are there if your family members can't travel to your event.
Agree. And I think that's the best. And nowadays you can put it on you can even put it privately on YouTube, privately on Vimeo. I mean, there's just so many ways to share it.
And I think that the one thing, if you hire a professional, one thing that they can do that's a little tougher for most just consumers is they can put it on a platform that's going to require a password. So that only your family members are able to watch it, and you don't have just some random person logging in and making goofy comments or posting up goofy pictures. So yes, you can put it on private servers, whether it's Facebook, whether it's and other outlets that actually allow you to stream live to them. And then, of course, you can still have all that footage edited later and have that keepsake for years to come.
But it's super important, super critical to make sure you hire a professional. And I tell you this because if you go back, and maybe they can Google this, maybe they can go on YouTube and find a clip, but there was an old episode of Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Where Norm and Cliff they were doing a side hustle, and they got a video camera, and they forgot tape. They forgot tape for the video camera, and it was a disaster.
And Grandpa got out of his wheelchair for the first. Oh my! It's a miracle! I'm so glad we got
it on film. You know?
Yeah,
oh my gosh! Okay. So you got
still relevant.
Yeah, still very relevant. You guys got to definitely make sure, because if it's too good to be true, it probably is. It probably is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It probably is.
So you really want somebody, especially with smaller events, if like your entertainers and stuff like that, your DJs, they really have to know their stuff in order to do it properly. It's not that it's super hard, but there is a technique to doing it and getting people engaged. You have to be engaged. You can't just be somebody playing music. If you're just a jukebox DJ, probably not going to work as well with a small crowd. But if you're somebody who can actually get the audience engaged, then you're going to have an absolutely amazing event.
And I think now more than ever, it's super critical to find that great MC, because we don't know what it's going to be like when it comes to dancing at a reception. We don't know if a facility is going to have, stickers on a dance floor. So we don't know. So that's where a really strong and good MC will come in handy for you, because they'll know how to make something of the situation.
Absolutely. And now there's also the option, because we've talked to a couple of couples about this, a couple of brides and grooms about this, where they still want to have a bigger event down the road, but they want to get married on a specific date. So they're going to do a small ceremony, maybe just the two of them and maybe the best man and maid of honor. And again, when we talked about streaming, great choice. You go and have your ceremony, small ceremony, you videotape it, you stream it, the rest of the family's there. And when you can actually get to that date where you can have everybody there, you can still go back and do a whole ceremony. I think what people don't realize is after you're already married, you can still do a full ceremony.
Right.
Just like you did before. It's
Yes.
just you don't need a marriage license. It's considered a vow renewal.
Exactly.
So you can go back and do the big wedding and have the big reception. So there are options to doing this, as opposed to, thinking that you can't do it at all.
And I made a suggestion to a couple early on this year, back in March, that was thinking about just not getting married in Vegas. They wind up postponing their wedding to next year, to 2021, and they're going to do it on the date that they had picked out. But instead of having a traditional wedding ceremony, they love the idea of having an Elvis vow renewal. And now how cool is that? And surprise all their friends and family, because they've already gotten married. So they did the backyard wedding like Pat was just talking about, did something small in the backyard on the original date, but now they're going to come to Vegas and they're going to have Elvis do a vow renewal. How cool is that? And have fun and have a party.
Yeah, so you don't have to do it at, do like a big giant church, unless that's what you want to do. You can do just a fun ceremony inside a banquet room or or outdoors, a restaurant, someplace that has a space. And at that point, you're already married, so you don't need a licensed minister to perform it.
Yeah. You can even have your friend do it,
Yeah.
your uncle, your aunt, your grandfather, anybody you want to do it. So it's pretty cool.
At that point, it becomes more about the couple and less about the legal parts.
And I don't know if you know this, but you can Google this as well. The county clerk's office here in Las Vegas has a special vow renewal marriage certificate for you. So it doesn't look anything like the original one. It's very Vegas. It's pretty cool. It's very colorful. It says that you renewed your vows in Las Vegas. It's pretty cool. So that's something that a lot of you guys don't know about. So yeah, you could do that. That'd be fun.
Can really do some fun things. The big thing is to find somebody who knows what they're doing and that you can pick their brain. Because if you find somebody who's been around for a long time, they've got a million ideas in their head, and they can take that smaller event and make it not even just as much fun as a bigger event, but more.
Yeah.
Because now you know everybody's name that's there. There's times that as the DJ or the videographer, you wind up knowing half the people's names before you leave.
Yeah.
You're like buddies. You're like old friends. It feels like a really cool, fun family party that you're having, and it's absolutely memorable, and it's no less exciting than the big giant affair that people have. And I think people they see that in the movies and they think, oh, I got to have this big giant affair. You can do an amazing event with a smaller number of people.
Absolutely. And that's where the experts come in. So definitely trust the experts. Like I said, our company, this is our show, Spotlight, and our company, Sight and Sound, has been in business for 25 years. We're a full-time business, not a side hustle, not a part-time hobby, but a full-time business. And we're here to serve you, and we're here to make sure that you have the most fun, exciting event ever. And now more than ever, every event we're going to do is going to be more epic and more celebratory than ever before.
because I think after all this is said and done, we're all going to want to celebrate more than ever. And I think it's even more important to find somebody. And this is why it's important when you look for your services. Don't just do it via email. Talk to them on the phone. And I try to pass this as my biggest piece of advice to anybody. If the person on the other end of the phone does not sound passionate about what they do, go to the next person. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event for you. This is something that should be absolutely fabulous, fantastic, amazing. That only happens when you have passionate people on your team. And these people who are your vendors are actually on your team. They're the ones making it exciting. So no matter who you hire, make sure that they love what they do. And this isn't just sort of a side thing to make a few extra bucks, because that's how they're going to treat your event. And you don't want that, because they're going to forget you. They're not going to remember that. They're going to go on to their regular full-time job. Try to find somebody who's passionate about it. This is what they do. That 20 years later, you're going to go up to them and go, oh my God, it's you. And trust me, we get that all the time. And we love it. We absolutely love it.
Yes.
Because we know that we made an impression on somebody's life that's going to be there with them until they're no longer here.
Absolutely. Great advice.
Now, we're going to be posting up, probably in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be posting up a printed version of this with just some bullet points, some really quick ones, and we're going to use it to hand out to people. We'll have it available so that if you want a quick reference, something to remember back, just some quick tips to how to put it together. And if worse comes to worse, if you actually want to call us and talk to us and bend our ear, we're actually willing to do that for you.
Absolutely.
As well.
You could go on live chat. You can send a text message, whatever you want. We are here for you. And that's what I want you guys to know. And check out all the social media too. We have very inspirational pins on Pinterest. We've got a YouTube channel and Instagram and our Facebook. So, we're everywhere. We're posting constantly. We're here for you. Whatever you guys need, couples, whatever you need, we're here. I'm talking a lot with my hand because I'm trying to get this fly in our
fly
studio.
going around the studio, yes.
And we're not going to redo
There's
the show.
hardly any bugs in
know,
Vegas, but yet we got one fly in the whole studio, and he's got to hang out here.
And he's hanging out with you guys.
He's hanging out with us. He goes, hey, that looks exciting in there.
I'm going to bother them. So if I do this a lot, I don't do this at the wedding, but we're here for you.
We're here for you. Thank you so much for watching Spotlight. We hope you got a lot out of it. We put these up. We try to do it once a week or at least a couple times a month, and it's all advice to help your event, help make your event fantastic and fabulous and make it rock. And that's what we're here for, because we've been doing this a long time. We want to share all this knowledge in our head with all of you. And obviously, if you really need to talk to us and you want something more personalized, pick up the phone and give us a call.
Thanks, everybody. Be safe. Be well. Talk to you soon.